The High Commissioner needs one.
Oh, okay. And then channel 2. You can switch
it's 2
for the translation.
For the
yes.
Yeah, for the English, it's 2.
English is 2.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming here today to the press conference by UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Folker Turk, at the end of his 2-day visit to Serbia. The High Commissioner will deliver a statement and will be able to take a few questions afterwards. Over to you, High Commissioner.
Dobar dan, and thank you all for coming. My visit to Serbia is part of a long and solid cooperation between my office, the UN Human Rights Office, and the country. I'm grateful to the government for having facilitated this visit and for the important meetings yesterday and today with the authorities, with parliamentarians, with independent institutions, with civil society, university students, and other partners. I appreciate the government's engagement with my office and with UN human rights mechanisms. Serbia has ratified almost all international human rights treaties and recently acceded to the optional protocol of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. I also welcome the adoption by the government of the Leave No One Behind guidance tool that is meant to influence legislative and policy processes. But it is also very important in order to move forward to guarantee a meaningful participation of all relevant stakeholders in legislative processes. The national human rights mechanisms and the independence of the judiciary also need to be strengthened. For more than 6 months, Serbia has been witnessing a wave of protests, mainly led by students, calling for transparency and accountability for the tragic incidents at Novi Sad's railway station on 1st of November of last year. The students' demands also include fighting corruption, the release of those who were detained for taking part in peaceful protests, accountability for attacks against demonstrators, and an increase in the budget for higher education. Today, at the University of Belgrade, I had a chance to meet with students and their professors. I was impressed by their energy, by the enthusiasm of these young people. They have expressed a strong desire to me for a free and democratic society and a thirst for human rights. Their voices need to be heard and respected. Societies thrive when there is an open, free, and inclusive space for dialogue, where challenges can be discussed safely, when divergent opinions can be expressed freely, when criticism can be expressed without fear of reprisals, and when the vilification of critical voices is consigned to the past. Freedom of expression and the right to peaceful assembly are fundamental to society, particularly when there is sharp disagreement on major issues. A solution needs to be found so that the exercise of these freedoms is not pitted against the right to education. During my visit, I was struck by the level of profound polarization and division within society and by the lack of trust in state institutions and political actors. This highlights the need for the renewal of the social contract. Trust can only be gained through confidence-building measures, an open mind, and self-critical reflection by everyone. I've urged the government to ensure transparency and to carry out prompt and thorough investigations into the Novi Sad tragedy, as well into all allegations of violence against peaceful protesters. I've also expressed the readiness of my office to carry out a fact-finding mission into the incidents surrounding the demonstrations on 15 March. Nonetheless, it is encouraging to see that the recent protests have mostly been peaceful. My office has received reports of raids, verbal attacks, harassment, intimidation, arbitrary arrests, threats, and smear campaigns directed against human rights defenders and media workers. We have also received reports about unlawful digital surveillance and lawsuits being used to intimidate with a chilling effect. These are obviously concerns that need to be taken seriously and addressed. I'm concerned about a rise in hate speech, both online and in traditional media outlets. Women, Roma and other communities, as well as LGBTIQ+ people and journalists are particularly targeted. And sometimes even politicians and high-level officials engage in hateful rhetoric, vilifying and stigmatizing those who exercise their human rights and defend them can only lead to deeper polarization and fear. It is crucial to address the root causes of discrimination and marginalization against all ethnic and national minorities. The Roma community still suffers from high poverty rates, exclusion, and limited access to healthcare, education, employment, and basic services. And this is unfortunately a phenomenon that we see in many countries in Europe. Existing anti-discrimination policies need to be reinforced with systematic collection of disaggregated data to help monitor and counter discrimination. Gender backlash is a global phenomenon which also manifests itself in Serbia. It is expressed through the recent suspension of the gender equality law, misogynistic narratives and attacks, notably against women in the public sphere, as well as gender-based violence, including femicide. People with disabilities also suffer from discrimination. Their rights need to be guaranteed, both in law and in their application. Serbia is part of a region that has suffered greatly as a result of war and conflict, and Serbians have shown willingness to advance and rebuild a nation based on equality and human rights. And transitional justice is an important pillar in this process. More is needed in this regard. Accountability for serious violations of international humanitarian law committed during the 1990s remains a major challenge. A number of criminal cases are still under investigation, with limited and often slow judicial proceedings. Most convictions involve low-ranking officials, while cross-border judicial cooperation and information sharing remain a challenge. Serbia also lacks a legal framework to recognize the status of missing people and the rights of their families. And victims' access to justice and reparations remains inadequate. Memorialization is an essential part of the healing process. The denial of war crimes and the glorification of war criminals are the opposite. Without genuine transitional justice, including truth and reconciliation, wounds of the past will remain open. I also had discussions with the authorities regarding the human rights situation in Kosovo, particularly with respect to non-majority communities. I'm aware of the situation, and my office will continue to work on it, and I'm committed to follow up on this personally. During the visit, I was touched by the resilience of the people I met, as well as their desire and willingness to advance human rights in the country. They have my full solidarity and support. Hvala.
Thank you, High Commissioner. Any questions? Please, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Commissioner. Can you brief AFP? There are currently 6 militant activists in the
Okay, perhaps we will repeat the question because of the microphone. And we'll take 3 questions, a round of 3 questions that the High Commissioner will respond to.
Okay. Have you had the chance to discuss their case with the authorities, and what is your opinion about their detention? They have been in detention for more than 2 months and a half now.
Thank you. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay. Sorry.
Izvinjam se, Jelena Kikić, televizija Nova. Ako možete, molim vas samo da nam kažete sa s kim ste sve imali prilike da razgovarate juče i danas od zvaničnika? I na kakvu ste reakciju naišli s obzirom da ste izneli dosta konkretne, blago da kažem, zamerke? Hvala.
Da li bih mogla da zamolim samo da ponovite pitanje još jednom, pošto nije uhvaćen početak prevoda? Aha.
Ok. Može. Dakle, ako možete samo da nam kažete sa kojim predstavnicima vlasti Srbije ste imali prilike da razgovarate juče i danas? I na kakvu reakciju, s obzirom da smo s njihove strane dobili samo zvanična saopštenja, ste naišli na razumevanje ili na opravdanja ili na neke zaključke? Hvala.
Thank you. Maybe a third question before the High Commissioner can respond to the three of them, if there are any questions.
Ja sam...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
N1, Tamara Ognjanović. Imam 3 konkretna pitanja. Jedno bi se nadovezalo na prvo pitanje koleginice. Dakle, da li ste upoznati sa slučajem prebijanja aktiviste za koji se saznalo danas, a dogodio se u subotu? Drugo pitanje je kako gledate na tu praksu puštanja iz pritvora 3 aktivista nakon višednevnih blokada suda? I treće je da li ste ispratili slučaj obraćanja predsjednika na televiziji Informer u kojem je zapretio sudskoj vlasti?
Thank you so much. High Commissioner?
Yes, I'm aware of the 6 cases. I raised them with the authorities. I take note that 3 of them were now put under house confinement. I hope they can be resolved, and it was part of my discussions with the authorities. You asked who I met. I met with the Speaker of Parliament, with the Minister of Justice, with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, with the Minister of Human Rights, with parliamentarians, with civil society, with students, with professors, with the National Human Rights Institution, the ombudsperson, as well as the Commissioner for Equality, for the Protection of Equality. And did I miss anyone?
Supreme Public Prosecutor.
And the Supreme Public Prosecutor. And obviously in these discussions, it is, as it's part of my functions, we raise with the different interlocutors the various things that I have mentioned also in my press release. I found an openness on the part of the authorities to discuss this with us and to listen and to engage. And I hope we can build on this. I trust we can build on this as we go ahead. And I stand ready to support the Republic of Serbia in this phase through our engagement with everyone. I'm not entirely informed about each and every detail of what you have. I think there was a question about different individuals that have been arrested or not arrested. Obviously, it is part of our work, and there is, of course, also the system here that is able to respond to it, but I honestly don't know exactly each and every detail of what you have just mentioned. It's important to emphasize the independence of the judiciary and to ensure that the judiciary can function independently. It was a very important part of my conversation, in particular with the Minister of Justice.
Thank you, High Commissioner. Maybe another round of, a last round of 3 questions we can take, if there are any. I don't think there are questions. Oh, please, go ahead.
Jovan Ristić, novinska agencija Beta. Pričat ću sporije da možete da uhodite. Možete li nam reći nešto više o razgovorima sa predstavnicima univerziteta, s obzirom da je najavljen izrazito represivan zakon o univerzitetu, i molimo vas za vaš jasan stav o tom zakonu. Hvala.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I don't see any questions. So, oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Dobar dan, Svetlana Božić-Klinčanić, Radio Slobodna Evropa. Budući da ste rekli da ste razgovarali i istakli nezavisno sudstvo, odnosno da sudstvo mora da bude nezavisno, kako, odnosno da li ste između ostalog čuli, predsjednik Srbije je juče najavio da će njegova stranka ići da blokira sud. Znači imamo jednog predstavnika izvršne vlasti koji najavljuje da će blokirati sud. Kako gledate na to?
Thank you. Probably a third question before we go to the High Commissioner. I can't see any questions, any hands, unless I'm mistaken. Okay, please, High Commissioner.
Look, one thing is very clear. Universities have academic freedoms, they have an autonomy. We need universities in all countries around the world to be able to function with autonomy and with due respect for science, for evidence base, for studies to undertake. And I think that's a fundamental sacrosanct principle of academic freedoms. And as a result, we need to make sure that I'm not aware of this particular legislative proposal, so I can't comment on it, but the principle is clear. It's academic freedoms, autonomy of universities, and being able to function in a society, because our societies we have so many challenges. Just look at climate change. Just look at the many challenges that we face around the world. We need researchers, scientists to be able to do their work, and they can only do their work in the enjoyment of freedom. It's clear when it comes to the functions of the state, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, and it is also very important to respect each and every function, including the independence of the judiciary. Hvala. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all of you for coming here to the press conference, and hope we see you again in the future. Thanks a lot. Thank you, High Commissioner.